We want to be the platform that helps high schoolers and early career professionals land their dream job.
Welcome to Staff Buffalo's Pain Points Podcast.
Hi, welcome to another episode of the Pain Points Podcast. I'm Lauren Lewis, and I'm here with Darnell Epps, founder of Thurgood. Darnell, thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to be here, Lauren.
Yeah.
Great to be here. Yes.
I've loved getting to know you I think we've connected probably over the past maybe 6 to 8 months, and love what you're doing with Thurgood and really kind of bringing some spotlight to those individuals who are in trade schools and working in the trade industry. So I'd love to have you start by telling me your journey and background and what got you into entrepreneurship and what started Thurgood.
Yeah, it was definitely a unexpected pathway for me, entrepreneurship. Talking about that, I was in law school at the time in 2021 when the idea of Thurgood was top of mind with me. I was in my first year of law school at Yale. I was working with Professor James Foreman, a mentor of mine, if anybody knows or heard of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which was part of the civil rights in the mid 20th century. His father, James Foreman Sr., was the founder of that. But he was one of my mentors and the reason I went to Yale. And I was working with Professor Foreman and Caleb Benson at the Law and Racial Justice Center. And it had nothing to do with the skilled trades or manufacturing. We were working to develop community law libraries in partnership with the Stetson branch of the New Haven Public Library to provide free legal resources and training to underserved patrons in communities throughout New Haven. New Haven itself, for anyone who doesn't know, is a city that's economically stratified, 26% poverty rate, median household income of $42,000. And it brought me face to face with many people in the community who were working in the gig economy, doing DoorDash to make ends meet. And they were looking for a different career path, right? They were looking for opportunities to pursue training, to earn or pursue a career that paid a living wage, well above a living wage, rather.
And there's such demand for people to be in the trades.
Yeah, and so with myself, I grew up in New York City public housing as a kid. Tough times, talking about back in the 90s. And I made some decisions that landed me incarcerated for some time as a young man before I had dropped out of school in the 10th grade. And eventually I turned my life around, went to college, matriculated at Cornell, and then went to Yale.
So not just went to college, like you got yourself into the Ivy Leagues, which is pretty impressive, Darnell.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It definitely was life-changing. There's so many people who were mentors of mine who extended that helping hand that put me in position to achieve my dreams. And it takes a village, it takes a community to raise a child and to help others succeed and overcome any adversity in their lives. And I had access to that. I was privileged in that respect to connect with some world-class, amazing professors and faculty at Cornell who really created a pathway for me. So when I was doing the work I was doing in New Haven, I was also eventually I took a course in labor law rather, with Christine Joels, and I read a report by Deloitte indicating that some 2.1 million manufacturing jobs were going to be unfilled by 2030 due to an existing skills gap. And Connecticut itself is a huge manufacturing hub. They have Pratt and Whitney, the electric boat. They were looking to fill tens of thousands of entry-level technician roles. And this is during COVID. So you also have the boomers that retiring at a
record rate. They were like, all right, time to move on, time to get out.
There was this opportunity to really explore ways to create a pathway for people in the communities I was working in to pursue some of these careers. And so I did something very unconventional. I did something many of my classmates at Yale never did. Probably, I may be the first person. I actually enrolled in a trade school while I was in law school. I enrolled at Lincoln Technical Institute and I earned a diploma.
I saw that on
Yeah.
your LinkedIn and I was like looking at the timeline and I was like, wait a second, was this he was in law school? And
Yeah.
yeah, I can't imagine there are many aspiring attorneys out there that are like, I'm gonna go learn how to be a CNC machinist.
Yeah, no, Lauren, great point. And it really was out of curiosity, right? I didn't know what a career as a machinist was. I didn't know what machinists do
Right.
specifically. I really wanted to understand, because that was one of the roles we were looking at. Those were one of the high need areas with some of these companies I mentioned, like Sikorsky. So I really wanted to understand the skills that were needed. And I definitely didn't want to advocate for people to take on jobs that weren't intellectually stimulating or
Yeah.
you were working in hazardous conditions. So I really wanted to understand this. So I call it somewhat anthropological in some respects. Like I immersed myself in a problem. I earned a diploma in 2023. I graduated from Lincoln Tech. And I met with some investors, secured some pre-seed venture capital after working as an entrepreneur in residence for a venture capital firm called Praxis Ventures, which, by the way, invests
Oh
in
yeah.
startups at the intersection of IT and manufacturing. So they had an acute understanding of the problem we were trying to tackle. And I recruited an engineering team out in Austin. We built a mobile app. I took some of my insights as a student at Lincoln Tech. One of the first things I realized, because just to backtrack a little bit to give you a little bit of context, Lauren, I was initially thinking VR and AR, augmented reality, was the means to
That was
provide
a
the kind of
hot
training.
topic too back at that time
Yeah,
too. I feel
it,
like that was something where people during COVID were getting into that virtual reality in a variety of ways. There was
yeah,
hobbies and entertainment.
yeah, 100%. And you had Mark Zuckerberg on his avatar out there saying the metaverse was going to be the new frontier for human interconnectivity. And so I was exploring the possibility that we could leverage that hardware to and software to provide the training needed to fill some of these open roles. Realized it would have been way too capital intensive because we weren't satisfied, meaning myself and the investors, that the hardware was where it needed to be. We didn't think you could train a CNC machinist in the metaverse. There's all kinds of other skills that go into it. So we would have needed to design new haptics and hardware in addition to the software. Would have been way too capital intensive. But as a student at Lincoln Tech, one thing I realized was that the students there just didn't have access to the same digital tools that I had access to as a university student to help myself stand out in the job market. When I graduated from Cornell, I landed my first job as a qualitative researcher working at Ithaca S&R using a tool called Handshake. But there wasn't a similar tool available to me or anyone who really
Right.
works with their hands, takes pride in what they do physically by the assemblies they machine, the circuits you wire, the cars and engines you work on. There was nothing that really captured that in a meaningful way to help students stand out in the labor market. Because again, if you meet a young woman who's in a welding program and she can outweld the internet, guess what? She looks very similar to everybody she graduates with when she uploads her resume to Indeed, right?
Oh
So
yeah, exactly. It's like you can't so much of what they do too, it's tangible, it's physical product. So they should be
yeah,
showing it and showcasing the work that they're doing to make sure people are seeing this.
yes. And so we allow students to build portfolios on our platform that case their skills to employers. Employers can scout talent. They have their own employer or sponsor dashboard where they can actually comb through some of the profiles of students in specific trades and cohorts and look at their portfolios and projects and get a better glimpse of that student's capabilities and skills. So we do use a bit of AI to help assign skills tags to those portfolios that students share in a way that functions probably like a resume builder of sorts, but it helps
Yeah.
match those students with open roles. So yeah, that's what we are. We've integrated with Lincoln Tech's career portal. We have access to over 25,000 students We've also integrated with the system that Great Jobs KC uses, and we're currently in talks with a number of community college systems throughout the country to launch it within their career portals as well. Entrepreneurial journey, right? We work with some of the bigger employers right now, like Crash Champions for collision repair or finishing technicians. They're the third largest auto body franchise in the US. 650 locations, bringing in, I don't know, roughly $4 billion in annual revenue. And they're in 38 states, and they have high need for apprentices, and the jobs there could pay upwards of six figures. Some great careers out there. And especially when you think about all the data centers and the construction that's going to be needed with this shift to AI, I think you're going to need more HVAC technicians, more electrical apprentices, and you're starting to see that. And people are taking these careers more seriously now as a real pathway to
I think they are.
a
I
great
think they're
career.
definitely seeing, opportunity within the, they're seeing that they can build a nice life, a nice career for themselves within the trades. And for a while, I graduated from high school in 2002 in kind of, I think, late 90s, early 2000s, 2010s. A lot of people, they weren't emphasizing the trades as a career path, right? Like it was, you go to school, you get your bachelor's, you maybe go to grad school, go to law school, go to med school, or go to some other higher education, MBA. And then we found ourselves at a lack of people who were aware of what a job in the trades could be like and what kind of career could build for you. And I think there is a lot more importance now in schools, especially even high schools, and of helping students identify that path. Someone who wants to work with their hands and do things and literally see a project from start to completion that they had a hand in. That's so rewarding for some students. In college, your typical college, right, isn't necessarily the right path for everyone. So I'm so glad to see there's organizations and people who are helping students identify their path. And then when Thurgood was coming to market and becoming more and more involved with the community colleges around the country and other trade schools, it's going to allow students and trade students to see the opportunities that are out there and connecting them with big organizations where they can build an amazing career.
100%, Lauren. And you have exposure, career exploration, and then, students can, if you get early exposure to what some of these careers entail, students can make better choices about what they want to pursue, all day in high school or when they become a junior or senior. But when there's no exposure to it in middle school or before or later, that becomes a bit of a problem. And I always say that these careers aren't mutually exclusive to college. There are so many employers, think Sikorsky, since I mentioned them earlier, they offer a robust tuition reimbursement program. My nephew works at Monty in Cincinnati. He's a robotics technician. They offer tuition reimbursement as well. So if you earn 9 NIM certifications and you want to work as a robotics technician, but 2-3 years down the road after you accumulated some savings, maybe you bought a home, you decide, I want to pursue a degree in mechanical engineering. Guess what? Your employer, in many cases, will help pay for that college education. And then you've had that real world experience by the time you go to college. College augments some of the skills you've acquired in a practical sense by entering the workforce at a high school. So I think there's ways to wed the two, right? You don't have to make that binary choice. And so that's important, I think, too, to flag.
Yeah. Now, when you've showed me and walked through Thurgood with me, what I find really unique and interesting about it is a platform for students and people in the trades to show their work, to highlight projects they're working on. And I look at it as like a mix of Instagram and LinkedIn. And we know a lot of people who are in the trades aren't necessarily on LinkedIn. So how are they finding jobs? How are employers finding them? But when we can connect them to Thurgood and get them on this platform and they're showcasing their certifications, the projects they work on, it really helps to allow them to show their resume beyond a black and white text-based resume, which like you said earlier, it's that person who's in welding school, who's a resume is not going to separate them from another welder. But if they can show their work, it's really going to showcase who they are.
Yeah.
And what they do.
Yeah, you're correct. And one of the things it also does, because we do have that kind of Instagram kind of community feed as well. So students can choose to keep their portfolios private, only visible to employers who are looking to recruit, or they can share it publicly. What we're starting to see now is a high number of students who are sharing on a community feed. And that's encouraging to us, because one of our goals is to create an aspirational pull toward doing great work in the trades, right? We want to buy against that stigma that's been associated with blue collar work in the past, and really showcase how rewarding these careers could be. I look at the post, I looked at some this morning, and the level of production that went into it from some of the students, I was like,
that's
wow,
so cool.
That's a pretty cool, and they share it publicly, they comment on each other's posts. So we're building a community there.
Exactly.
And you won't find necessarily on IG or on LinkedIn, because these are early career professionals. These are students who haven't even created a LinkedIn profile. And Instagram is often associated with like people sharing vacations and other parts of their life. We want Thurgood to be, at least the community feed, to be worker centric, right? Valuing the trades, valuing the kinds of careers that people can pursue in those spaces.
Yeah, and it's building that community of people with like interests.
Yes.
And I think what's also cool is like someone might be a welder, but then maybe they don't know anything about auto body, but they're seeing someone else's auto body projects, and then they might think, oh, I think I might really like that. And maybe it opens up a different pathway to them, an opportunity they didn't know about yet.
Yeah, and you see some of that overlapping skills across different trades. So you take a collision repair or finishing technician who's great at painting vehicles. Guess what? You might see someone working at Spirit Aerospace or out in Wichita, Kansas, who's painting a 737 fuselage, right? And it's a similar skill, and didn't realize, oh, wow, I'd like to work at Boeing, or I'd like to work at Spirit. And so it opens up students' eyes to more opportunities and career paths that align with some of the skills that they're learning in their trade. So that's super important too.
It's really cool. When you have been building Thurgood, essentially it's a tech platform.
Yeah.
It's a tech platform, but you're really highlighting like the trades. What have been some of the biggest pain points you've had to overcome in building Thurgood to highlight the trades as you're building tech?
Yeah, one of the biggest pain points really has been identifying our ICP, ideal customer profile. Early on, we had design partners, and it's no knock on the companies we worked with and some of the design partnerships. It's just that many companies here in the US, for reasons you mentioned earlier, when we stopped teaching shop, we stopped teaching some of these trades in our schools. They never, in many of these jobs were outsourced elsewhere. They never created an infrastructure for entry-level training, for on-the-job training. And they're used to hiring more mid to senior level technicians. And so we had to wrestle with the fact that hiring managers, in many cases, despite students graduating from some of these programs with the requisite skills, there wasn't enough of a training apparatus with some of these companies to really create opportunities for some of the entry-level candidates in this space. But then every company that didn't have that mechanism in place, there was a company we found that did. So think Crash Champions, the company I mentioned earlier, they have a great step apprenticeship program. And you're starting to see more companies lean in on building the kind of infrastructure at the entry level to help get early career professionals acquainted with their specific production needs. But I do think there was some lag there, but we're starting to see a turnaround on that front.
That's
been one of the bigger challenges, just trying to identify like the right sorts of employers to work with at the outset as you're looking to find product market fit, as you're looking to start to move from pre-revenue to revenue generating it is a race to find your ICP.
And it can be hard, and it can take a lot of time to like really figure that out. And sometimes you start really broad, and it's like, how can we narrow it down more and more? So I'm really targeting the right people. And I think organizations, you have to do it. You don't just do it once at the beginning too. You kind of have to do it consistently throughout and keep evolving and like really identifying what that ICP is.
Yes.
So much of building businesses is you do what you can, you build, right? And then you're like, how can I make it better? How can I improve? How can I get more focused and more targeted and do better? And it's a constantly evolving process.
Yeah. And we were very salient early on. When I graduated from law school, I wrote a piece in the Washington Post about I was doing a Thurgood, and we were just launching our MVP. So now we had all this national news. They wanted me on CNN. They wanted me here.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Yeah.
The tech had to keep up. So the engineers were like, "Oh, we got to really start getting this to meet some of the public attention we're getting right now." So there's growing fast publicly, and then the technology has to evolve at the same pace, because sometimes you only get meetings with some big players one or two times. So you got to make sure you're ready at that moment. But I'm sure entrepreneurs have, in many other spaces, have a ton of lessons and learnings. So I always try to keep an open ear to everyone else's experience too, so I don't make those mistakes. But it's
I think as entrepreneurs, we have to always remind yourselves, right? We don't know everything. What can we learn from other entrepreneurs in this space, whether it's in your industry, out of your industry? You always have to be like learning to evolve and grow and keep your business moving forward and meeting demand.
Yeah, so true, Lauren.
So did you ever think you would not be a lawyer? Like a practicing lawyer in like a law firm? Or was that just something you wanted to say, hey, I want to go to law school?
No, I always felt like I still, even to this day, there are causes that I care deeply about. And there'll be a point in my life where I throw on the lawyer's cape and do some lawyer work. Yeah, the fact that it's not my career and that's not what I'm being paid to do at the moment, I'm totally okay with that, because I know one of the things that motivated me to go to law school, if you read my admissions essay, was I wanted to be the next Brian Stevenson. Ultimately, I wanted to have a positive impact on communities like the one I grew up in. And I think I'm having a similar impact in the work that I do today. Many of the students we work with are on the lower end of the socioeconomic ladder. So helping that student, whether it's Dakota or Denarius or whoever, get their dream job, that's so rewarding. That's rewarding when you see that, when you see how inspired they are by what we're doing and how appreciative they are of the connections they're able to make through the platform. It hits me in the same way.
Yeah, it might not pay dividends in dollars and cents necessarily, but it pays dividends in in just the emotion, and connection you get from it, and the pride that you get probably in seeing the pride they have in finding a career path, building a life for themselves and a career, and just being excited about the opportunities that they have at their fingertips now.
So true. So true. It hits me personally as well. Like my nephew, he had a college degree, associate's degree, and he was sharing an apartment with his friends in Queens. And he was working as a caretaker for intellectually disabled kids, which is good. But in New York City, the cost of living is through the roof. It's not really paying the bills. So he reached out to me. This is while I'm doing Thurgood. And he said, are there any training opportunities out there for me? And I connected him with a program out in Eastern Kentucky. I said, you have to be willing to go to Kentucky. It's a great program. Gene Haas Kentucky Advanced Manufacturing Institute. I was like, I knew Kathy Walker, the executive director. I'll talk with her. And he ended up moving to Eastern Kentucky, Appalachia. And for 5 months, he earned 9 NIM certifications. Now he's a robotics technician, has his own apartment. He's thriving, making a great salary.
That's amazing.
And he hasn't come back to New York. But
he has not come back to New York?
No. I'm going to start
calling
out there
in the Midwest.
The Colonel from Kentucky Fried Chicken or something. I'm like, you gotta know.
That's awesome, though. He would never have had that opportunity probably if he wasn't getting the skills that he needed to build a career.
Yeah, and he's going to benefit from the tuition reimbursement and go back to school for
Oh, that's
mechanical
great.
engineering. So that's awesome.
That's awesome. And I'm sure he's not the only success story. I'm sure there's multiple success stories
No,
like
there's a
that of
lot.
people who've navigated their careers in the trades and utilized Thurgood. Now, I mentioned Thurgood. I'm like having opportunities at your fingertips and identifying opportunities. Can you tell
Hmm.
me more and tell our listeners more about the platform itself? I obviously am familiar with it from seeing it. And I did mention it's a little bit of a blend of LinkedIn versus Instagram, but tell me more about what the platform itself looks like. If you can help like listeners visualize what they might be
Yeah,
seeing or how they might be using Thurgood.
so it's a mobile app. Any tradesperson can create a profile, download it in the App Store, download it in Google Play. You can create a profile. It's going to ask you for some basic information. What trade are you in what school you might be in. You can list your certifications, OSHA 10, OSHA 30, whatever it is. You can build out your resume on a platform, and you could use the jobs board. You have a jobs board on there that's tailored to your trade and location. So you would see that in the left-hand column on the mobile app. But the first thing you would see is that community feed that I mentioned earlier that
Yeah.
functions more like an Instagram. And there are some additional features there as well, that typical inbox. You can DM peers, you can look at your profile, look at your resume. There's a bunch of tabs on the mobile app where you can access different features. You can enable push notifications, use the camera, obviously, to upload photos of the
Hmm.
projects you're working on, and benefit from that AI skill tagging that I had mentioned. For an employer, we like to say it's more like the NFL combine for the skilled trade. So if you're the head of talent acquisition at Cox Automotive and you sponsored the cohort of automotive mechanics across 13 of Lincoln Tech's 23 campuses, you would get a sponsored dashboard where you would see every single automotive technician student profile in your on your dashboard. You'd be able to click on their posts, see their portfolio, see their resume. You can promote them to open roles that you have in their geo. You can engage with them directly through the platform about job opportunities, how far they're along in their course, if they're at a
Cool.
theory, if they're 2 months away from graduation. And then when they're actively looking for work through some of the analytics that we share with those sponsor employers. And those sponsor employers also get increased brand visibility through the app. So if I were to open up my profile today, you might see me sponsored by Crash Champions because I activated one of their near field communication cards that we use and distribute to students. But so that's in a nutshell, that's what Thurgood is. And then we offer a free career operating system to career services at our partner schools so they could track student engagement, give students nudges when they're interviewing for jobs, and
Hmm.
follow up with students and also keep track of where students are in the labor market. Have they been hired? Where are they hired? So they have a bunch of tools that we provide to schools at no cost to them, and schools can also work with their regional employer partners to share jobs on the platform at no cost to those employers. We want to make it easy for schools. We know there's cuts to the education department. Schools
Yeah.
don't really have a lot of resources, but so we work with them to build out these regional ecosystems. And yeah, and so it's three parts to Thurgood: the student job seeker side, the employer side, and the career OS
And you
for
mentioned
schools.
earlier too about working with like community colleges around the country.
Yeah.
Tell me more about how you're working with the community colleges as well.
So we're in talks right now with launching with Erie County Community College, right, in their programs, as well as Lone Star College down in Houston and CUNY, Bronx County Community College, as well as City Tech in Brooklyn, New York. And we work with those schools primarily by providing them with our operating career OS, right? And we build out those regional ecosystems with our partner employers. Again, they can bring on their partner employers as well. But we rely more on sponsorships where employers who want access to specific cohorts of talent, they sponsor those students. The way the sponsorship math breaks down for employers, they see a 70% reduction in cost per hire based on the current share and benchmark for recruiting a single entry level hire. So a company like Crash Champions that sponsors all collision repair and finishing students. Their cost per hire and their seeing record recruitment right now drops from roughly $4,700 to $1,200 per hire.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, that's how we're able to really get our system to function at no cost or little cost to schools and local or regional employers, while also generating revenue that many investors want to see and put capital into any startup. We still have business to take care of our end. Yeah, and so that's us.
That's awesome. Where do you see Thurgood going in the next 5 years?
Our goal is to expand into as many schools as possible. We just integrated with our first high school, DeKalb Central in Indiana, and we'll be integrating in Barry and Ressa in Michigan, and we're working to partner with Area 31, and we're working with the PHCC in Indiana, Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Contractors Association, and their 314 member companies.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
To get students apprenticeship opportunities with them. But where we want to be 5 years from now, we want to be the go-to platform for entry-level skilled workers who want to pursue careers in data centers, who want to serve as residential or commercial HVAC technicians, who want to go into the automotive industry, work on their vehicles, or we also want to help change the narrative around what a career in the skilled trades can do for people. We want people to have options coming out of high school. You want to go to college, that's awesome. You want to go into a trade, we'll help you get that career. We'll help you get that work-based learning opportunity. If you want to go and pursue a career in the trades first and then go to college, we'll help you along that pathway as well by connecting you with employers that have generous tuition reimbursement programs. We want to be the platform that helps high schoolers and early career professionals land their dream job.
I love that. I think you open up so many different pathways for them that they might not know even have existed, which is amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
And why Thurgood? Why the name Thurgood and like your brand? Tell me more about that.
I get that a lot. And Thurgood really had to do with Thurgood Marshall, who was my idol. And I read a lot of Supreme Court opinions, and I used to love Thurgood Marshall's jurisprudence. And I always considered him to be a legal engineer. He spearheaded the arguments in Brown v. Board to overturn Plessy v. Ferguson. And he believed in the right to industrial self-determination for everyone. And I think that's what Thurgood embodies, right? And I felt I was in law school when this idea came to me. Who better than Thurgood Marshall, who I always considered a legal engineer, who believed in this right to industrial self-determination, who better than him to embody what we're trying to do here? Because I always make that comparison. There's so many shared grievances between the folks in Eastern New York, Brooklyn, and Eastern Kentucky, right? There's so many people who need an opportunity to just pursue the American dream, regardless of race. And I feel capturing that through Thurgood, which a board member of mine also said, it just sounds like thoroughly good. He's from Kentucky, by the way. I was like, you know what? That's a great term. That's a great way to think about it.
I think it really intersects everything that you're about. And everything you're building with Thurgood.
Yeah.
And like I said, the legal engineer. I feel like it's your background as a law school, an attorney, and engineering this platform as well, and really bringing light to the trades. I think it's amazing. Looking back to starting Thurgood and to where you are now, what has been your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge? That's a great question. I'd say they say any startup is you go through many connecting flights before you get to your final destination. The biggest challenge for us has probably been recognizing the need to pivot and pivot quickly enough, running enough experiments and learning from those experiments and moving quickly to adjust our platform to the needs of the market. But that's in a technical sense. I would say, it's just entrepreneurship. I'm a non-technical founder. right? So I'm not someone who builds apps. My
Yeah, you're not coming
CTO
from that
solely.
software web development
So
background.
I had a lot of learning to do as a first-time founder, first-time CEO.
Yeah.
Whether it's just understanding sales, right? That's a whole different discipline than being a lawyer. Lawyers are billed by the hour, right?
Yeah.
You got to know how to be crisp and to the point sometimes in some of these meetings. And so there was a whole different education to entrepreneurship. And there was a lot of opportunity for me to grow professionally in this space. I was great at legal writing. I could write a brief. I could do a gazillion things associated with the law, but entrepreneurship is different, and realizing that I needed to grow as a founder and as a CEO and as a leader in key areas in order for us to succeed was important. But it's also rewarding because you never want to be in a place where you're not growing professionally. You could never be perfect. And so, yeah, learning quick, pivoting quick, those are some of the biggest challenges. And I'm sure many entrepreneurs would probably say the same thing in some respects.
Oh, for sure. I think you always have to be able to navigate different challenges that are beyond your control too, and figure out how to get through those. But I always say, as a business owner and entrepreneur, you got to surround yourself with experts too, who can help you with the things where you aren't strong, whether you learn from them and they help guide you, or you just lean on them for their expertise. Accountants, attorneys, thankfully you have the legal background, but I'm sure you have a great IT team behind you.
Yes.
Who help you navigate the IT side of entrepreneurship.
1000%. Like I couldn't do anything without the technical team. So for sure.
Yeah. There's, some of us are only wired to do certain things. So you need those other people who have that different brain type to help you where you maybe aren't as strong.
It's so true, Lauren. So true.
Darnell, thank you so much for joining me today. If someone's looking to get in touch with you, in touch with Thurgood, how could they get in touch?
They can email me directly at Darnell, Darnell, at Thurgood, Thurgood.work. Darnell at Thurgood.work. And I monitor my inbox probably too much, so I'll get back to them.
Perfect. And we'll be sure to tag you and Thurgood like in all of our postings too of the episode. So we'll make sure we have everyone has access to your information to get in touch.
Thanks. Thanks,
awesome.
Lauren. Great to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Pain Points podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to follow us so you never miss out on future episodes.